Right now, the RV market is collapsing faster than anyone imagined. Over 4 million rigs just hit the used market, a flood so massive it's drowning dealers and crushing families under loans they can't escape. They told us RV life meant freedom on wheels. But what if that freedom has just become the next financial trap? Listings are exploding, prices are falling, and banks are quietly tightening the noose. How did the dream of the open road turn into a debt sentence? Who's profiting while everyone else panics? Stay with me. This reckoning's only getting started. The flood hits the feed. It started quietly, like a drip before a storm. Then overnight, the feeds exploded. Every major resale platform lit up with thousands of new listings. Fifth wheels, travel trailers, luxury Class A coaches. Suddenly, they were everywhere. Priced to move fast. People who once bragged about their rigs on social media were now desperate to offload them. Some listings came with notes like barely used, stored indoors, or life change forces sale. The truth was simpler. They could not keep up. For years, we were told that RV ownership was freedom on wheels. But now that dream was being parked on every digital curb in America. We are watching neighbors offload rigs they swore they would keep for years. The collapse did not start at dealerships or factories. It started in driveways and front yards. One look at the listings and you can feel the fear pulsing through the market. Prices drop, comments pile up, and the race to sell becomes a race to survive. But the listings were only the first symptom. What really broke the dream came from the banks. Rate hikes and broken budgets. The new reality hit like a punch in the gut. Interest rates that once hovered near zero have climbed past 8%, and monthly payments on even modest RVs have doubled. Buyers who stretched their finances during the boom are now staring down bills they cannot pay. For many, the so-called affordable adventure has turned into a financial chokehold. Insurance premiums have risen, fuel costs remain high, and campground fees show no mercy. We bought into the dream, and now the bank owns the road. Some owners tried to refinance, but lenders pulled back, tightening rules and jacking up credit requirements. The same institutions that cheered the RV boom in 2021 are now ghosting their own customers. For the average working family, it feels like betrayal from all sides. They followed the ads, trusted the hype, and believed that the good times would roll forever. Now they are learning that freedom financed is freedom postponed. And when budgets snap, repossessions follow, the next chapter of this slow-motion reckoning. If this collapse already hits close to home, hit like and drop a comment. Let's see how deep this goes. Repos and regret. It starts with a warning notice, then a phone call that goes unanswered. Before long, the tow truck shows up before dawn. Across the country, repossessions have quietly surged. Dealers and lenders are trying to keep it off the headlines, but storage lots tell the story. Rows of motorhomes sit behind locked fences, their windows dark, their owners humiliated. Folks are not lazy. They are drowning in notes they cannot refinance. The pandemic-era stimulus that once masked financial pain is long gone. Now, one missed payment turns into three, and three turns into a surrender. Some owners drop the keys and walk away, hoping to escape the debt collectors. Others cling to denial, parking rigs in relatives' yards to dodge repo agents. Every recovered vehicle becomes another data point in a growing crisis. And every repossession sends another chill through the market, convincing more owners to sell before they too are cornered. But behind all these personal struggles lies a deeper truth, an industrial math problem that no one wants to talk about. The math no one admits. Here is what most reports will not say. This collapse was built years ago. Between 2020 and 2023, manufacturers churned out record numbers of RVs to meet pandemic demand. Production soared past 1 million units per year, fueled by cheap credit and stay-at-home dreams. Then came the crash. Buyers vanished, rates spiked, and millions of unsold or lightly used vehicles flooded the secondary market. Add it all up, and more than 4 million units are now in play worldwide. It is not just people selling. It is entire fleets, rental companies, and bankrupt dealers dumping inventory at once. They told us demand was endless, but it was borrowed time. The so-called RV revolution turned out to be a bubble wrapped in chrome and optimism. Every extra unit built in those fever years is now hunting for a new owner in a market that cannot absorb it. And as the wave of oversupply grows, the pressure will not stop with sellers. It is about to hit the entire used market head-on. Price gravity. Walk through any dealer lot this month, and you can feel it in the air. Value falling like a stone. Rows of shiny rigs sit untouched, their once proud price tags slashed in red ink. Dealers whisper about market adjustments, but the truth is obvious. They are drowning in trade-ins. Auctions that used to move units in hours now drag on for days, with bids coming in thousands below reserve. The same R-vee that fetched $80,000 in 2022 now struggles to pull 45. Our equity is evaporating while dealers adjust the market. Owners who thought they were safe because they bought used are learning the pain too. Each new discount resets the floor, and every markdown drags the next one lower. What used to be a symbol of pride has turned into a liability parked on asphalt. It is not just a price correction, it is a value freefall. And when the numbers stop adding up, the people running the lots start changing the rules to survive. Dealer survival games. Behind every special offer banner hides quiet panic. Dealers have turned desperation into strategy, advertising deep cuts and 0% financing, but the math never favors buyers. They discount on paper, then reclaim it through paperwork. Extended warranties, documentation fees, gap coverage, and add-ons stretch longer than the contract itself. The pitch is always the same: protect your investment. What they omit is that these extras rebuild the profit they lost on the sticker. For every buyer walking out thinking they saved $10,000, the dealer earns it back later. It is a shell game built on fine print. Even trade-ins are twisted, low appraisals making room for inflated savings. Survival now belongs to whoever controls the story, but even those who avoided the dealership's tricks are facing another blow. The hidden collapse happening where they hope to escape. Campground crunch. The campground used to be the refuge, a place to breathe when everything else felt uncertain. Now it feels more like a trap. With fewer travelers on the road, parks are raising rates to make up the difference. What once cost $30 a night now runs $60 or more, and the peace people paid for is harder to find. We paid for peace and got parking lot chaos. Spaces are crammed tighter, hookups fail more often, and maintenance falls behind. The dream of morning coffee under quiet skies now includes the hum of generators and the echo of someone else's stress. Owners who tried to wait out the market slump by living on the road are discovering they are not saving, they are subsidizing. Campground corporations have consolidated, buying out mom-and-pop parks and squeezing every inch of profit from the land. The last bit of freedom left in the lifestyle is quietly being billed by the hour. And while small travelers struggle to find space, the policies designed to protect them are quietly turning against them. Policy whiplash. No market crash happens in isolation, and this one has found new momentum in red tape. Tariffs on imported parts have made repairs more expensive, while insurance premiums skyrocket for every claim filed by fleets or rental companies. When big players mess up, small owners pay. A single corporate accident halfway across the country can raise everyone's rates by the next billing cycle. We feel the pain of someone else's mistake. Then there are the tax shifts, local governments eyeing R-vee storage yards and private land parking as commercial use and demanding higher fees. The more we cut back, the more they take. The policies that were meant to stabilize the market have turned into anchors. Instead of relief, owners get trapped in paperwork, fines, and penalties that erase what little value remains. It feels less like regulation and more like punishment for ordinary people who believed in a dream too long. But as the rules tighten and profits vanish, the next wave will not just test the market, it will test the people living inside it. The exit stories. For many families, the decision to sell did not come from panic, but from exhaustion. They tried to hold on, patching leaks, stretching paychecks, and hoping the market would recover. But when the next job was lost or the next repair quote came in, the dream finally cracked. These are not quitters. They are people priced out of their own freedom. One couple in Arizona sold their Class C after the transmission failed a second time. The cost to fix it was more than 2 months of wages. Another family in Michigan listed their travel trailer just to pay off medical bills. They posted photos of their children's bunk beds with the caption, "Too many memories to count." Each story carries the same undertone. People who wanted a simpler life being pushed out by costs they never saw coming. The rigs they once called home now sit on consignment lots, silent reminders of promises that could not survive inflation and interest rates. But while sellers cut their losses, a new crowd is stepping in, buyers chasing what looks like the deal of a lifetime. The buyer's mirage. The listings read like miracles. Barely used Class A's for half price, pristine fifth wheels with thousands knocked off overnight. But the illusion hides in the details. Many of these bargains come from repossessions, quick flips, or flood-damaged stock cleaned up just enough to photograph well. If the deal looks unreal, it probably leaks. Hidden issues, mold behind panels, faulty slide-outs, rusted frames, turn excitement into regret within weeks. Buyers driven by headlines about a buyer's market are discovering the fine print of collapse. Cheap does not mean reliable. The market is flooded with units that sat idle during the pandemic, suffering weather damage, neglect, and deferred maintenance. For those hoping to escape rent or high mortgage costs, the R-vee life still calls like a siren song. But every deal that seems too sweet hides a trapdoor. These are not golden opportunities. They are the second-hand echoes of someone else's financial heartbreak. And even for the people trying to buy or keep their rigs, the financial chains around them are tightening faster than ever. Credit chains and vanishing refinance. When prices collapsed, many owners hoped refinancing could save them, but the door slammed shut almost overnight. Lenders who once begged for borrowers now avoid R-vee loans under $50,000, especially for older rigs. We are told to just refinance. With what income and what rate? Those still paying pandemic loans owe more than their vehicles are worth. The industry calls it negative equity. Families call it hopelessness. Miss one payment, credit falls. Miss two, insurance spikes. Miss three, repossession begins. Some take personal loans, stacking debt just to delay default. It is a slow-motion collapse that traps people in paperwork even after the keys are gone, while the same banks now label them disposable liabilities. Yet the fallout does not stop with the people behind the loans. It spreads back up the chain to where those R-vees were built in the first place. Don't miss what's coming next. Subscribe now, because the reckoning's far from over, and the next wave hits soon. Factory fallout. Inside the plants, the hum of machines has started to fade. Production lines that once ran double shifts are now silent 3 days a week. Managers call them adjustments, but workers know what that means. Orders are drying up, overtime is gone, and layoffs are creeping closer. When plants go dark, the town follows. Cafes near the gates close early, supply shops stop restocking, and entire communities brace for the worst. These workers were the backbone of the boom. People who welded frames, stitched upholstery, and kept assembly lines moving. Now they stand outside the same gates, holding pink slips instead of paychecks. The corporate statements talk about strategic recalibration. Yet for the families in Elkhart, Indiana, or Forest City, Iowa, there is nothing strategic about losing your livelihood. The ripple is already spreading across state lines. Each shuttered shift means fewer parts ordered, fewer deliveries scheduled, fewer paychecks cashed. And as these factory lights dim, the next part of the story moves from assembly floors to living rooms, where ordinary people start asking what survival really looks like. The autumn wave. As autumn settles in, the market hits its breaking point. From October through December, the flood of used R-vees becomes impossible to ignore. Classified sites refresh by the hour, each new post cheaper than the last. Dealers slash inventory to stay afloat, and desperate owners try to undercut one another just to move their rigs before winter storage fees arrive. The sense of urgency is everywhere. If you are waiting to sell, the window is closing fast. Buyers know it too. They circle like hawks, waiting for one more price cut, one more late payment, one more family ready to walk away. What began as a trickle of listings in the summer has become a tidal surge by late fall. The supply chain that once struggled to produce enough vehicles now cannot clear its own backlog. The season that usually brings holidays and quiet roads now feels like a countdown to collapse. And when the dust settles, we finally see the full picture. The sheer scale of the storm hiding beneath those numbers. The anatomy of 4 million The headlines say millions dumped, but what does that really mean? Look closely, and the glut takes shape. Nearly half the units are travel trailers from the pandemic boom, another quarter are fifth wheels abandoned when fuel costs exploded, and the rest are Class A and Class C motorhomes. Many repossessed or returned early. In total, more than 4 million rigs now compete for space in a shrinking market. Storage yards overflow, auction fields stretch to the horizon, and even ports are packed with canceled exports. Analysts once claimed the R-vee world could never overheat because people always want freedom. Now that freedom is surplus, and every extra rig built since 2020 haunts today's collapsing resale prices. But even in the middle of this chaos, opportunity still exists for those who know how to move carefully through the wreckage. How to buy in a crash without getting crushed. When a market collapses, it punishes panic but rewards patience. The smart buyers are not the ones sprinting toward the cheapest sticker. They are the ones learning the system before they sign. The first rule is simple. Inspect, do not assume. Check for water damage, electrical corrosion, and tire dates. Ask for maintenance logs, not promises. A rig that looks spotless online might have spent a year baking in the sun with rotted seals. The second rule is to negotiate from fact, not fear. In a buyer's market, information is your leverage. Dealers expect low offers. Banks expect caution. The third rule is emotional. Do not buy someone else's dream unless it fits your reality. We can still win if we learn before we sign. Those who approach this collapse like a puzzle instead of a fire sale will come out stronger. A crash wipes out speculation, but it also clears the ground for smarter ownership. And for everyone who is not buying or selling, there is still one question left. How do we, as owners and workers, take back control of what comes next? The owner's stand. This is where the story stops being about numbers and starts being about people. After years of overproduction, hype, and broken promises, the power is shifting back to those who actually live the lifestyle. Some will sell and start fresh, others will downsize or rebuild, and many will hold on until the storm passes. They built this mess, but we decide how to survive it. Across the country, small groups of owners are forming cooperatives, sharing storage lots, pooling tools, and teaching each other repairs once left to overpriced service centers. Online forums are turning into lifelines. What was once a scattered hobby is becoming a quiet rebellion, a movement to make the R-vee world sustainable again. The corporations will move on to the next trend, but we are still here, holding the keys. The reckoning has arrived, yet it also opens a road back to independence, one built on community instead of contracts. Because when the smoke clears, it will not be the companies who define what freedom on wheels means next. It will be the people who refuse to give it up. The road ahead isn't ending. It's transforming. The crash exposed the truth, but knowledge is power. Stay sharp, stay informed, and keep rolling smarter. Subscribe because the next reckoning is already shifting gears.